Welcome to the BPD Bunch. I'm your host, Xannie, and today I am here with Alex, Georgette, Madhurima, Jay, and Katja. We're continuing our conversation on the BPD favorite person phenomenon. If this or other BPD-related topics interest you, please make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so that you do not miss anything. So far, we've talked a lot about the favorite person relationship and how we manage that. But today we're going to focus on how you know that you're getting a favorite person. So what are some of the warning signs?
I did not know I had a favorite person until after I was diagnosed and learned the concept of it. So for me, there weren't any warning signs. I was just like, oh, this is what I've had. But it made me very conscious of not replicating that in my next romantic relationship. So when I was having thoughts that, I only want to talk to this person. I only want to talk to my partner. I saw that as a warning sign and would purposely expand my circle and bring, call somebody else.
That's I think so important is to maintain other relationships. A lot of warning signs that I've heard people talk about is that wanting to spend all your time with them and then being with them and being so elated and happy, and then as soon as you leave feeling completely empty and depleted and sad, and then thinking about that person all the time. And then when that anxiety starts to rise about when you're not with them, that's a really good warning sign. Are you feeling like you're thinking about them all the time and you're wanting to be with them all the time, maybe canceling all your other plans just to be with them?
I think this is hard though, because in romantic relationships, especially at the beginning, a lot of times you do, even somebody without BPD, and remember, our personalities are no different than other people's, it's just more intense. So it can be hard to realize I think it's normal in the beginning of a relationship, especially to be like, oh, I really want to hang out with that person. I really want to hang out. So
for me, the warning sign would be making or breaking my day. I'm almost always never aware of how much that person is starting to mean to me till I get supremely attached to the way that they're communicating with me. It can be a simple thing. It can be a text message, or it can be small gestures like a heart sign after a text message. And those small gestures would mean so much to me. It can make my day and I would be so elated. But even if it's the smallest change in the tone of the text, how we can understand people's tones through their texts. And if I get that, or probably I get a phone call where this person did not sound as excited as he normally does, then that would trigger a series of spirals in me. What did I say? Did I say something wrong? Is he going to think less of me? Am I being too much? Should I back off? Should I be more persistent? What should I do? And whenever one action of another person can trigger so many spirals in me, that is when I usually take it as a warning sign that, something is not right.
Yeah, I think that negative aspect is for me the hallmark of warning signs of an FP relationship, because it's true that it doesn't even have to be a romantic relationship. Sometimes when you meet a new friend and you really click, you can be really excited about them and you might be more willing to cancel all their plans to go spend time with that person. I think for me, what really defines a favorite person as compared to these other ones is when things go wrong, it's horrible. If they don't answer me immediately, something bad has happened, or, overanalyzing, obsessing about them in a negative way, worrying about them all the time. Being excited about a new friend or a new, romantic interest is pretty average, and I think that's fine, but it's the negative obsessing and how much that impacts my self-worth, I think, too. And that's been important for me as somebody who also has ADHD to differentiate, because if I only think about it from the positive, I do tend to hyperfixate on new friends, where I call them all the time and I'm really excited to spend time with them. A couple years ago, there was a friend that I started talking to a lot, and we both had BPD, and I was like really excited to talk to her all the time. And I started being kind of worried about myself because I was like, is this a favorite person relationship? And then I realized that I wasn't, like, there were some things I would take more personally, but it was, I think, more a sign of the fact that we were just close. And I was able to recognize, like, oh, this is just me hyperfixating and being excited about the fact that there's somebody who actually gets me and we can talk all the time. And I wasn't obsessing over whether or not she answered me right away. And like, if she said that she was busy or whatever, it totally made sense. And I think that then made it much easier for me to conceptualize the difference between hyperfixating on a new friend and sort of the slippery slope of a favorite person dynamic.
I think it's just like a sign of our recovery as well, like that you can have a friend that you want to talk to all the time, and at the same time, like, check yourself, like, they're not texting me back right away, or I haven't heard from them all day, and not automatically assuming they hate me or they're mad at me. That's the shift. Like, you know, people always want to know, like, when am I recovering? Like, what's the signs I'm recovering? And it's like, you have to allow yourself to experience these relationships, and then you notice that things are different. Like, I'm not obsessing over it. I'm not like broken about not receiving a text back right away.
So I think for me, one of the hallmarks of a favorite person relationship, when I know that it's sort of getting to that point, is oversharing. And I think there's sort of a dual purpose as to why I do that. I think the first is, I think a lot of us will share things to try and build a bond with someone, and that's completely normal. But I think there is a temptation sometimes to take that a little bit too far. So maybe sharing things that I wouldn't necessarily share with other people that early on in the friendship, to try and bring that person closer to me emotionally. And then I think the other reason is sometimes when you are in a friendship or a new relationship with a person, there is also a temptation to see how much you can share without actually pushing them away. And that's a very dangerous line to walk, because it doesn't always go in your favour. And it's not something that I really do too much these days, but definitely looking back into relationships that I've had in the past, or I've had a favourite person, that's a pattern that has emerged where I've either tried to overshare to bring someone closer to me or to push them away, to see how far I can actually push them before they leave me.
Yeah, the testing people is, I've definitely done that too. And that's the hard part with the oversharing. It's like, I would convince myself that I was using it to see whether or not they could handle me, but there was also a little bit of shock value. So it's like, I'm going to shock you just enough that you like stay on the fringe a little bit, and you're not so close to me that you're going to devastate me. Of course, it never works, right? But,
Yeah.
Good try.
yeah.
But then I think the problem with that is when you do overshare with somebody that you don't really know that well, there is always the not knowing what they're then going to do with that information. And that has come back to bite me on the backside more than once.
I want to bring up the word addiction. Okay, like, let's talk about an addiction and let's replace substance with person, like insert person here. And I think that's another way, like, if you recognize the signs of addiction, that you can know that it's happening. Like, the symptoms are very, very similar. Like, you are high when you're with them or speaking with them, and then when you leave, there's like a serious withdrawal and like an emptiness and cravings. It's really like, we can get addicted to other people. We don't realize that, you know, the way our brains work, and like dopamine is our reward seeking neurotransmitter that is released when we're in happy relationships with people that we love. Same with like oxytocin, like love hormones. We start craving those things, and we actually can have withdrawal very similar to than it would be to a drug. Like, it's not as much physical withdrawal, but like definitely a lot of mental withdrawal. And it's also a good sign too. Like, if you notice like, oh, I'm feeling like I'm craving this person, it's also a good sign to know, like, maybe this is my favorite person.
It's wild that you say that, bring up that word, because before I had really accepted my BPD diagnosis and looked into it and understood it, the way that I conceptualized that relationship with my ex was, I was addicted to them. I was addicted to them. I did a lot of really extreme things that I never would have imagined in a million years I would do, just to try to, to use sort of that kind of language to get a hit.
Yeah.
Right.
Jay, what's your take on this?
I think the hallmark of a favorite person relationship for me has been spirals of obsessive thinking that usually contradicts what I rationally and intellectually know about the thing that I'm thinking about. So I may well know the reality is different to what my obsessive thoughts are telling me, but my obsessive thinking is like so strong, can last so long, and this is usually brought on by tiny problems, interactions, or assumptions that I've made, or reactions that I have to small changes in behavior or whatever. I never experienced that in regular friendships, or if I'm dating somebody that I have not really become super close with at all. So I've started to kind of associate it with my FP relationships. And these spirals really, they throw everything off for like weeks. Like very dysregulating, make me feel awful. Yeah.
Thank you everyone so much for watching. We hope you got a nugget of wisdom to take with you on your journey. Sunday, Alex and I are going to be doing a special brunch episode around the favorite person to wrap up the topic. She's going to be sharing some of the knowledge about the favorite person that comes from her research and clinical experience. So stay tuned for that. And then Wednesday next week, we'll be back with a brand new topic. So lots of great stuff to come. We'll see you next time.